Hello everybody, and welcome to this second video on how to install Drupal 9 on a Debian 10 based server. In the first video I talked about the requirements for your server, so the LAMP stack and the PHP extensions, basic PHP extensions that you need in order to get Drupal up and running. If you need a server configured so that you can install Drupal on it, I would suggest you watch that first video. Otherwise, we can jump into things. And what we'll do is start where we left off in the previous video. So in that one, I talked about the before the installation and all the AMP stack stuff that you need to know. So what we're going to do now is look at the step one, get the code, and I'm going to click on that. And so what they're telling us, there's some information on here that isn't particularly relevant to this tutorial. One thing that they do kind of talk about here is the related content, this 3.4, preparing to install. So this is a chapter in a more extensive user's guide. I'm just going through the quick and dirty steps of installing things just to make things take less time, essentially. So what we need to do is get the code on our server, and we can do that by downloading it. And I'm going to click on that little download button. And it brings us to this page, and we can get a zip file or we can get a tar file. I'm more familiar with these tar files, so what I'm going to do is right click on the link and then copy link address. And I'm going to use wget to install this tar file onto this tar archive onto my server. So what I'll do is just go back to my terminal, and we'll just open that up a bit. Let's clear the screen, and I'm going to use the wget command to get all the files I need. I'm going to change directories to the directory I want to install those in. So right now I'm probably in my home directory. pwd, print working directory, tells me where I am. I'm in home jKellogg. That's not where I want to be at the moment. Where I want to be is cd for change directory, var www html, and you should have the same thing on your server if you've recently installed Apache 2. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and then if I do the ls, the list command, it tells me all of the contents in this directory. So right now I have just the default Apache 2 index.html file. And that's the file that allowed us to see the default Apache 2 web page in the last video. So this is where I want to install all of those Drupal files, and I'm going to do that with wget. And if you don't have wget installed on your installation, you can do that with sudo apt install wget. I already have it, so it wasn't installed, but in case you need it, there's the command for that. And so I'm going to run sudo apt, sudo wget, and then I'm just going to paste the URL that I got off of the Drupal website, and I'll go ahead and hit enter. And so it's telling me tar.gz was saved, and I don't know why this is happening. This has been happening more frequently, and I haven't really looked into it. But if I go ahead and ls, you'll see that the name of this file is just the extension, the tar.gz, which is not what we want. I think we're going to run into errors if we try to extract that. So what I'm going to do is just take the last part of this URL, and that's what I'm going to change this tar.gz file name to. And we can do that with the move command. On the command line, it's not as straightforward as maybe if you're using a GUI file manager. So we're using the move command, and we're going to have to use sudo to do it because in this directory everything is owned by root. So we'll do sudo mv for move, and then tar.gz, and I hit the tab. So I typed in TA and then hit tab, and it auto completed for me. And I'm going to change this to this name up here. So Drupal dash 9.0.1.tar.gz, and I'll hit enter. And so now when I list the contents here, you'll see that I now have this newly named tar file. So what we need to do now is extract that, and we can do it with this command, sudo tar dash x, xzf Drupal, and at this point I can just hit tab to autocomplete. I don't remember what these flags stand for, so if you're curious, you can Google that. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and then I think you can also do, if you run man tar, yeah, so you get the manual for tar, and then you can find out what all those flags are. But that's beyond the scope of this video. Just so you know it's there, you can run man to look at any command on your system, most any command on your system, and it will give you some really good information on how to use it. So I'm going to hit Q to quit, and let's see, what have we just extracted the tarball. So let's ls, and you'll see now that we have this new directory here. So on my system, directories are in blue, and archive files are in red, and text files are in white. So now what we need to do is make sure Apache 2 can find these files, and there's a couple of ways of doing that. I think first what I'll show you is, well, let's see, if we go, let's go to this page here. So at this point, we should see things looking a little up. Actually, we need to, this index.html, let's just get rid of that. That's what's making the default Apache 2 page show. And we can do that with sudo rm index, and rm stands for remove, index.html. Hit enter. If I come back over here and refresh, you'll see that we kind of get a directory thing, and that's not what we want. We actually want to be in this directory here, because when you see that, you'll see the web-based installer is here in that file. But I want to show you how to make it so that you don't have to go through this file. So let's go back to our command line. And there are two ways we can do this, and I'll show you both of them. One of them, if we go to cd, or if we change directories to, what is it, etc, Apache 2, let's just list the contents there. Yeah. So what we need to do is change directories into sites available, and we'll list the contents there, and you'll see this 000 default conf. We want to go into that file there. So sudo nano, and if you don't have nano, you can run sudo apt install nano, and you should be fine. Sudo nano 0 tab to autocomplete will come in here, and so what we need to do is set the document root. And if I want this to be into that Drupal folder that we were looking at, I would just have to put a slash here. And I don't know, if we go back to the browser, and maybe just copy this, copy that, and then we'll go back to our terminal, and then I can paste that in here. Just get rid of that. And then if I do Control S, that will save it. And if I do Control X, that will exit from there. And I believe when you do this, you have to restart Apache 2. So sudo system control restart Apache 2. And go ahead and hit that. And so now, if I go back to my web browser, you'll notice if I do the refresh button, we now get the installer page. But this isn't really the way I like to do things. That name of that directory is likely going to change at some point when you get a different version of Drupal. So what I like to do is just put it into the HTML directory. So I'm just going to go back, sudo system, sudo nano default config file. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to come down here and change this back to where it was, and Control S to save, Control X to get out of there. And then what I'm going to do is go back to my var www HTML directory. List the contents just to remind us where we are. So what I want to do is take all of the contents from this directory and put them into the HTML directory. And I can do that with the move command. And I'm going to do sudo mv-v, and that is for verbose, and that will just kind of give us updates on how the file transfers are doing. And so let's see, we might as well do the full path. So I'm going to do var www html Drupal. That's good. So I just did dr and then tab to autocomplete. And then, so that is, oops, and then we want to do a / and then an asterisk. So that asterisk is saying take all of the contents from the Drupal-9.0.1 directory and put them in the var www HTML directory. And it looks like it was successful. We can tell by running the ls command, the list command. And you'll see that we have all the files from this directory now live in the HTML directory. And we no longer need this directory, so we can get rid of that. And we do that with sudo rm-r, and that's important that you put in the -r. It means to recursively move everything, which you must do if you're deleting a directory. You don't have to do that with a file, but you do have to do it with a directory. So sudo rm-r, what is it, Drupal, and enter. If we do ls, you'll see that it's gone. And now that I've done that, let's just quickly look over here. This should give us an error. And if we go back, let's see, go forward. Let's delete that file path. And I didn't restart Apache 2. Let's do that. Let's do that quickly. Sudo system control restart Apache 2. And we're probably going to have to do this a couple times throughout the tutorial. But now that we've done that, this page should now load properly. And there it is. So we're almost to the point where we can begin the web-based installer. We're not quite there yet. What we need to do is set up the database. And we'll do that in the next video to kind of break things up. So hopefully I will see you there. And at that point, we can set up our database.